If I asked you if you wanted to be successful, I don't care who you are or where you're from or what you believe in or what you value, your answer to that question is almost certainly always going to be yes. Because success is one of those words that has so many other meanings and words and implications wrapped up in it that are universal to all of us. Success implies freedom. It implies optionality. It implies opportunity. It implies security and financial well-being. For some of us, status. For some of us, impact. And all of the variances between all of these different words and meanings. And so with a concept that is so universal to every single one of us, why is it that the majority of people, if you slightly change the question from do you want to be successful to what does success mean to you, struggle to answer, or they just parrot a definition of success that was assigned to them by someone or something else, their parents, their teachers, their peers, or more commonly and most recently, social media. Now, that isn't to say that if you have common desires as it relates to success, that those aren't genuinely and truly yours, right? If you're someone who wants to be rich, for example, and you know that in your heart of hearts, more power to you. But you need to know, you need to understand intimately what your perception of success is, what success means to you personally, without any additional or external influence, or rather, if there is additional and external influence, you have questioned it and determined that it absolutely belongs in your definition of success. And so in this video, you and I are going to go through a series of 12 questions that will not only give you more clarity than you've ever had as it relates to your ideal life, your ideal vision, but will give you the most intimate, personalized, and authentic definition of success that you've ever developed for yourself. We are going to create a vision of your best possible future, the architecture of your ideal reality. It's going to be the projection of what you consider to be the pinnacle outcome for yourself and your life. It's the life you live when your dreams are brought into the realm of experience. And so to define this, we're going to answer 12 questions across 4 categories: environment, relationships, time, and anti-vision. So first question, where do you live and what is it like? So this is your greater area. This is your regional location. Now, you don't need to know a specific place in the world or a specific city in the world that you want to live in. Granted, if you already have one, then that's great. But otherwise, focus on characteristics of that place. Focus on things like the climate, the weather. Is it perpetual summer all year round? Is it seasonal? Is it somewhere in between? Think about, is it a large city bustling and full of life? Is it a quiet countryside surrounded by nature and serene, right? Is it somewhere in the middle? Do you live in like a mid-sized city that has tons of natural activities all around that you can engage in while still enjoying the infrastructure of a city? You want to determine what the aspects are of the place that you reside, because outside of your residence or where you do your work, that's where you're going to be spending the majority of your time. Now, question 2, what is your residence like? Now, this is your personal space, right? It's your home, it's your apartment, it's your estate or your compound, whatever you dream of as far as a residence is concerned. Try to map it out in its entirety. What kind of aesthetic does it have? And I know this is a little bit more abstract, but what kind of vibe does it elicit? How does it make you feel to live and dwell in this space? What are the rooms like? How are they decorated? What is your bedroom like, your kitchen like, your living room like? Do you have a patio, a yard, a garden, a pool, right? All of these things that can go into the place that you are going to be occupying the majority of your time. What does it need to have and why? And what do you want it to have and why? Question 3, what is your workspace like? Now, this is like your ideal home office or coffee shop or library, right? It's the place that you do your professional work. Now, granted, I recognize that if you are someone who doesn't work from home or you prefer to go out into the world and do your work to, say, a coffee shop or a library, that you can't really determine, say, the construction of that type of facility. But you can, again, identify characteristics that can match at least proximally or closely what you would want in those spaces. However, if you, like myself, prefer a home office to work within, that's where you can get entirely customizable. You can determine, just like your bedroom or your living room or your kitchen, how it's decorated, what kind of energy it holds, what kind of aesthetic it has, what kind of equipment's in it. Maybe you are someone who does creative work like I do. Maybe you have a vision for your ideal desk setup or your ideal camera gear or lighting or whatever it is that you do, and however it is that you facilitate it. Include all of that here. The more optimized that space is for you to reside in, and the more enjoyable it is for you to reside in it. And this is true for anything and everywhere as it relates to environment. The easier it's going to be to do what you feel that space facilitates, and the necessity of that space in regards to what you want to get out of it. All right, next category is relational ideal. These are your ideal connections. These are your people and the people that you have within your life. So question 4. What is your family like? Now, I recognize that this question immediately is going to be difficult for some of you watching, right? We all cannot be blessed with close family or good family relationships or anything of that nature. However, maybe if you don't come from a good family or have strong ties with your family, a good family can come from you. Or maybe you have an alternate definition of what family is, right? And so whatever it is for you, this is still an important category to gain clarity in and around. And so family, for all intents and purposes, these are your most intimate connections. So this is like your ideal partner or your ideal spouse. It's the kind of qualities and characteristics that they embody. Do you have children, right? And if you do have children, what is your hope for them, right? What kind of values and lessons do you want to instill in them, right? What do you all value as a unit together, right? How do you solve problems or overcome challenges? How do you help them do it individually? And how do you do it together? And if you do have immediate or extended family, what are you to them? Ideally, optimally, right? How can you be the best son or daughter? How can you be the best brother or sister? How can you be the best grandson or granddaughter, right? How can you show up as the best possible version of yourself in relation to the rest of your family? How can you provide for your family if that's something that is a definition of success for you, right? That is a definition of success for me. I want to be able to provide in any way that I can for those that I love, not because they ask me to or that they expect me to, because they don't, but just because I value that. That's something that I want of and from myself. And so if you share that same desire, that's incredibly important to understand and know about yourself, because that's an intrinsic motivator that will carry you so much further than something like, I want to make a bunch of money, right? Which, again, that can be an aspect of your success, but if that's your prime mover, it's going to fall flat very quickly and it's going to lose steam very quickly. Whereas if you have a prime mover that's something like, I want to make sure that nobody I love ever wants or needs for anything, that will carry you forever. So besides the point, think about your familial relationships, your most intimate connections, and how you want to reside within those relationships. Next, question 5, what are your friends like? So these are your communal connections. Now, I recognize that there can be some overlap between friends and family, right? I have friends that I very much consider family, and that's fine, but we still want to identify this as its own category, because not all friends cross within that threshold, and that's fine. But because of that, we need to have the differentiation. And so what kind of people are the friends that you are with? What kind of qualities and characteristics do they embody, right? This is going to be pretty consistent throughout all relational categories, because these are the things that matter in your relationships, right? What kind of hobbies and interests do your friends have that you guys can share or that you admire or respect about them, not just in regards to what they do, but in regards to who they are, and vice versa? How can you be the type of friend that the people who consider and call you friend can look up to, aspire to be more like, or respect on these kinds of levels, right? These are things that are so crucial and critical as it relates to friendships. You want to be friends with people that you wouldn't mind being like, and you want to be friends with people whose qualities you wouldn't mind adopting and embodying. And you want that to go both ways. Additionally, what ideally are you doing together with your friends, right? Like, what do you all like going out and doing together, either in a group setting or an individual setting? And then ultimately, and again, just to summarize, how can you make them better? And vice versa, how do they make you better? And then finally, question 6, what are your associates like? So these are your professional connections and relationships. Again, there can be overlap here. Some of my entrepreneur friends are some of my closest friends. They'll be at my wedding, things like that, right? However, again, not all people who you have a working relationship with or are within your network, you're going to consider like, best of friends or family, and thus we need differentiation here. What kind of jobs do they have? What kind of businesses do they own and operate? How can you collaborate either indirectly or directly? How can you support each other's professional or entrepreneurial journey? What can you provide to each other, again, either directly or approximately? What kind of service and value do they provide to the world? Can you exchange service and value? Do you have certain skill sets that would be valuable to people within your network or within your connections? And again, vice versa. How do you help each other succeed? These types of things. All right, so next category 3, is your temporal ideal, or as it relates to time. In other words, this is how you spend your day to day. All right, so question 7, what are your mornings like? This is ideally the first hour of your day, which in my eyes is the most important time of the day because it sets the tone and trajectory for the rest of your day. When you have your mornings aligned and you live within that first hour consciously and from a place of intention, it makes living consciously and intentionally throughout the rest of your day much easier. And so I would recommend defining certain activities and actions that you can take within your morning to help facilitate that. Now, you may be someone who's like, I need to do this or these actions in this order at these times, right? I personally am not someone like that. I like to have a multitude of what I consider to be beneficial actions. And then from day to day, I get to pick and choose what I integrate and utilize in any combination that I would desire, because that allows me to hit a middle ground between structure and freedom and flexibility, just personal preference. For example, some of the things that I like to do at the very start of my day is first and foremost water and sunlight, as soon as I'm able. But then I will do breath work. Usually most days I do breath work at some point, and in some combination with other actions, right? But breath work or a stillness meditation or a walking meditation. I'll do some form of stretching routine. I'll do morning pages and intentions, things like this, right? So actions and activities that are going to calibrate me for the rest of my day. So next, what are your afternoons like? This is how you are going to engage your day, as this is going to be the majority of your day, right? So how are you building momentum in your day? What routines, rituals, and activities are you committing to help facilitate progression towards this vision that you and I are currently working together to outline? How are you progressing in your acquisition of valuable knowledge, skills, and experiences? These are the kinds of questions that you want to ask yourself in relation to how you're spending the majority of your day, how you're spending your afternoons, because most of the time, that's when these types of activities are going to take place. Now, you may be someone who starts this earlier than others, and you just need to know that about yourself. So in the morning, for example, do you just want to straight get to work on things, or do you just want to go to the gym right away? Like, if that's where that fits in for you personally, there's no right or wrong way to do this, but you do want to identify the actions and activities, the rituals and the habits and the routines that will help you stay consistent and aligned from day to day, and will keep you progressing towards the actualization of this vision. And then question 9, what are your evenings like? The second most important hour of the day, in my eyes, is the hour before you go to bed, right? Because it is your evening, that final hour, where you close out the day with intention and where you carry momentum into the next day, right? So you want to think a bit of it like connection point. The way you spend your evening is going to carry over into the next day's morning, right? And so if you close out your nights and your evenings with intention and from a highly conscious place, the likelihood that you're going to wake up the next morning and continue the momentum of the beneficial routines, actions, habits, etc., that's only going to be elevated. And so what is your evening like? It's how you're ending your day, winding down and decompressing. So what routines, rituals, activities are you committing to? And are you engaging on a nightly basis? How are you making sure to internalize and learn from the day prior, right? So how you felt over the day, what you feel you could have done better within that day, what you feel you did exceptionally well or that you were proud of within that day, right? Celebrating small victories and wins. Usually I will close out my day very similarly to how I start my day. So I'll do some light stretching. I'll do some much gentler, slower breath work. We'll do some form of meditation, usually while getting ready to relax and go to sleep. These are all highly beneficial ways in which to close out your day and to spend your evenings. Now, our fourth and final category, your anti-vision. Your anti-vision is what you don't want out of your life. It is the antithesis of your vision. It is the complete opposite of what you consider to be your ideal idea of success. And we set an anti-vision because it allows us contrast. It gives us clarity in relation to what we do not want so that we can more clearly see what leads us to what we do want, and vice versa. It allows us to see the sometimes subtle or insidious actions that can lead us closer to our anti-vision than it does our vision. And so it's important to determine what we don't want for ourselves in our lives, just as much as it is important to determine what we do want for ourselves and our lives. Question 10, what don't you want out of your environment? So these are the types of places that you don't want to end up regionally, residentially, and professionally, right? What don't you want out of, say, a house or an apartment? What don't you want out of a place that you live in or occupy? What don't you not want to have control over, right? Because of circumstance or a lack of money or a lack of optionality or opportunity that boxes you into a certain environment that isn't aligned with your ideal. What don't you want out of a professional setting? Are you like me, could not ever do anything else than be an entrepreneur because of the things that you value, and to give your time and energy away to someone else's whim and control would be the same for you as signing away your soul, right? Maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic, but I'm serious. That's how it feels, right? And so I can't not do this. This is the only thing that I feel I can do to live in alignment with my idea of success. And so you need to determine for yourself what that looks like for you. Maybe you don't feel that same way viscerally, right? Maybe you are fine working with or for someone else, but still, what don't you want out of that experience? What don't you want out of the boss that you have, or the office that you occupy, or the job that you're doing? These are the types of things that you want to identify as it relates to your anti-environment. Next, question 11, what don't you want out of your relationships? So for some of you, this is going to shine light on an area where you maybe have currently blinders, which is the quality of relationships that you currently have. What kinds of people do you not want to surround yourself with? What kinds of characteristics and values and beliefs, or lack thereof, do you not want to entertain or be a part of in your relationships? You may currently have friendships that you probably shouldn't have. You currently may be sharing your energy with somebody who only stands to bring it down or steal it from you. And maybe it's not a conscious intention on their part, but it just is the experience that you have. And so you want to determine what kinds of people you do not want within your life, who you do not want to share your energy with, which is very sacred and should be shared highly intentionally. And so this, in contrast to the things that you have identified in values and characteristics and beliefs in your ideal relationships, you so too want to do this here as it relates to your anti-relationships. And then finally, question 12, what don't you want out of your day to day? And so for me, I think this has the most to do with restriction on freedom. What reasons would you not be able to spend your mornings, your afternoons, or your evenings the way that you would otherwise want to? Additionally, this has to do with things like impulse control or addiction or detrimental habits, things that you're doing to yourself or engaging in that are stealing your time and your energy from you, that are robbing you of your life force by giving yourself to those things. And this can even be small, insidious things that build up over time, like, an hour or two every day scrolling mindlessly on social media. That's going to add up over time, and that's ultimately going to bring you closer to your anti-vision than it is to your ideal vision. And so this is where you can identify the habits, routines, actions that you're engaging in currently that you shouldn't be, and naming them, right? Giving them a crystallized form rather than just allowing them to bounce around internally. Or it can be identifying pitfalls that you never want to fall into as it relates to actions or potential restrictions, or circumstantial elements that limit your own freedom and flexibility. And so identify these types of things when it comes to your anti-temporal vision, your anti-day-to-day. All right, so as promised, if you worked with these 12 questions and answered them to the best of your ability, you should have more clarity than you've ever had as it relates to your definition of success. You should have more clarity than you've ever had as it relates to a vision for your life and what you want out of it. Remember, to define your vision is to define what you want and give direction in your journey. The path that you're on is so much easier to walk when you can see it laid out in front of you, or when you can create a map that helps you navigate it. And I hope that this video has done just that for you. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I will see you in the next video.